Hey everyone, me Kevin here. In this video, I'm going to talk about the Paycheck Protection Program. We're going to talk about round number 1 and round number 2. I'm going to start by introducing the program, what it is, and then through a bunch of questions and answers, I'm going to talk a lot about the program because the odds are if you're confused about the PPP, well, somebody else probably has been confused before you and has asked a question about it, and I've gone through hundreds of questions about the PPP, compile them all into the most common questions that my goal is basically to answer every question that exists because a lot of questions are similar. And we're gonna go through all of that in this video. But first, I wanna just introduce the Paycheck Protection Program. So somebody in Discord mentioned that, hey, look, they applied for the PPP and they got a $20,000 PPP loan. And a lot of people initially hear this, a $20,000 loan, and they think, oh my gosh, I don't want a loan, I just want the free money. And this is unfortunately why the PPP seems so complicated. It's probably the biggest stumbling block that we have. And the PPP is very different from the EIDL loan and the EIDL grants, which now it just complicates things even more. So you've got PPP, then you've got EIDL loans, and then you've got EIDL grants. And we're not gonna talk about the EIDL stuff here. So if you're interested in that, you could just type into YouTube, Meet Kevin EIDL grants, and you'll learn about the grants and the loans. And so we'll just put that aside for right now. But for here, let's talk about the PPP, just the Paycheck Protection Program. And yes, the Paycheck Protection Program gives you a loan, but the program is designed to be a grant. It's designed to be free money. The reason the government decided, hey, let's call it a loan is because if they grant you money, they can't have any strings attached to it. So what they said instead is, hey, let's give people loans that are going to be grants because we're going to forgive the loans, but the only way we'll forgive the loans is if people follow certain rules. And the rules are super simple to follow. Basically, the government just wants you to say that you are, in some form, self-employed. If you are in some way, shape, or form self-employed because you work for Uber, you're a hairstylist, you're a realtor, you're an independent contractor, you're a computer programmer who's a contractor, you get a 1099, you got a side hustle, you flip stuff on eBay, you're a day trader, whatever. I don't care what it is you are. If you are in some way, shape, or form self-employed, you are eligible to apply, or you have a side hustle. It doesn't even have to be your primary hustle. You are eligible to apply for the Paycheck Protection Program. There's a round 1 and there's a round 2. Everyone who is self-employed can apply for round number 1. And only those who have lost 25% in income, comparing a quarter in 2019 to a quarter in 2020, can apply for round 2. So basically, everyone watching this right now who is self-employed can apply for round number 1. Everyone who is watching this who is self-employed, who has had their income decline in one quarter in 2020 compared to 2019, they can apply for round 2. But a lot of the answers are the same for round 1 and 2, so we're gonna go through a lot of those in this. But I wanna just show you quickly how powerful this is. Let's say, and this is very similar to what somebody in Discord mentioned this morning, let's say you got a $20,000 PPP loan. And the $20,000 PPP loan came into your bank account and showed up. The first thing you want to know is this money is tax-free money. It is not going to get taxed. That's huge right there. On top of that, the PPP is going to say that you're going to take this $20K and you're going to pay yourself around 60 to 75% in payroll and around 40 to 25% for other expenses like business utilities, business rent, business contracts. There are a whole host of eligible expenses. And those expenses will be a lot more clear when you actually get into the process. And keep in mind, when you say payroll or you hear payroll, don't get nervous about that. That just means your income. And we'll talk more about that as well. But the cool thing is, you now get $20,000, and the amount varies based on how much you earn, right? So it could be as low as $1,000. It can't be less than $1,000. Could be over $100,000. It could be millions of dollars. But anyway, the point is, it's tax-free money. But the other thing that's cool about it is, when you take that tax-free money and you spend it on paying yourself or your employees or your business expenses, or all three of them combined, you will also be able to write off on your business tax return those expenses, which means that in addition to getting $20,000 tax-free, you are also basically getting, whatever your tax rate is. Let's say your tax rate is 25%. Usually you pay an average of 25% of taxes. Well, in that case, and this is obviously individual, like it depends on who you are as an individual, but in that case, you would be getting an extra 25% in just straight up tax savings. So that way when you file your tax return next year, you're like, oh man, because I spent $20,000 of money that wasn't mine, but the government also let me claim a tax deduction, I basically just saved an extra $5,000. Like, that's freaking awesome. This loan grant is really, really powerful. So if you're interested in like stimulus checks, golly, you could literally forego any stimulus check and just take the PPP, and you will probably make more money with the PPP. If you have a side hustle and you actually have some income with your side hustle, or you're in some way self-employed. Problem is, so many of us get confused because we hear, wait, so is it a loan? Is it a grant? Like, I'm just a small business owner. I just go work for people and I get paid and that's it. Like, this all seems really complicated. Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing about this program is this program's been so great for businesses that are taking like these $1, $2, $3, $10 million loans, the Ruth's Chris Steakhouse and all these other companies. It's great for them because they look at this program and they're like, what? Tax-free money? And it's forgivable if we spend it on payroll? Dude, and we get to write off taxes as well? Yes, because big businesses understand that instantly. But small businesses, especially women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, Black, Latino owned businesses, are not getting the proper outreach, and this is statistical, this isn't me making things up, this is statistical, they're not getting the proper outreach and education to know that this is a loan you should be applying for because it's basically free money. The government is totally failing at communicating this stuff. They don't have like an Andrew Cuomo every day going, all right, folks, here's the latest on the PPP. Here's the Q&A today, right? So, yeah, I mean, there are some of us on YouTube trying to do this as well. And of course, there are banks that are trying to help folks as well. But it's so confusing that a lot of people just never even apply. And so what I want you to remember as you go through this entire process, when we go through this Q&A, is, folks, write this down. When in doubt, apply. When in doubt, apply. All right, so let's talk a little bit about eligibility. So, the first thing that I get asked a lot, and this is the first, this one right here, we've got a lot to unpackage. I'm going to read this statement here because we're going to get a lot of answers out of this. So the statement is, Kevin, I don't have an LLC or corporation or anything. I am an electrician who does side jobs, and most of it is straight up cash. When you say it's free stimulus in the form of a PPP loan, the word loan is probably why I'm second guessing myself. I do side jobs by myself and have no help from anyone else. Do I have to pay this loan back, or is there some kind of forgiveness? My worry is getting audited or something bad. And see, this is again the complete failure of our government. So let's clear these things up one at a time because there's a lot to unpackage here. First, do you need an LLC to get the PPP loan? No. Do you need a business license to get a PPP loan? No. Does your credit get checked for a PPP loan? No. Do you need an S corporation or a C corporation to get a PPP loan? No. All you need is to have shown that you made money in 2019. You gotta show you had revenue in 2019. It means you can't really apply for this if you didn't have money coming in 2019 in your business. If you just started a business in 2020 in, July, it ain't gonna happen. Now, technically the cutoff is February 15th, 2020. So yeah, if you're that special case where you made money and you started business January 1, 2020 to Feb 15, sure, you also qualify. But in general, we're looking at 2019 income to get people these loans. And these particular loans, and again, yes, it is a word loan, and the reason it's a loan is because there are rules. You have to spend it on payroll. You can't go YOLO Tesla call options. You got to spend it on payroll, and you got to spend it on business expenses. As long as you do that, as long as you follow the rules, the loan is forgivable, which makes it a grant. So don't get discouraged by the word loan. It is forgivable. Here's what I like to tell people as well, because I think this really will help you if you are still in doubt about what I'm saying. Watch this. Let's say you pay yourself $2,000 per month in income from your job. You pay $2,000 in rent and utilities, and that's part of your business expenses. So in total, your business is technically paying $4,000 a month for rent, utilities, maybe some business contract supplies or whatever, and you're paying yourself $2,000 a month, or that's effectively what it works out to at the end of the year when you're like, how much money did I make? Oh, I made $24,000. Okay, that's kind of like paying yourself $2,000 a month, right? So basically, in this example, where you're paying yourself that $2,000 a month in payroll, and then you have $2,000 a month in expenses, that's about $4,000 a month that your business is technically paying. And you're getting $2,000 of that, right? And $2,000 is going to expensive. But your business is paying $4,000. Well, PPP says you can take 2.5 times that as a PPP loan/grant, which would be $10,000, 2.5 times that. PPP round 2 is the same, except if you're in hospitality, restaurants, or accommodation, you can actually do 3.5 times this number, which is kind of cool. But the cool thing is, now you get this $10,000 loan, basically, which we want to be a grant. But remember, you would be paying this money anyway. You'd still be technically paying yourself for taking $2,000 out of your business a month. You'd still technically be paying these $2,000 a month in business expenses. So if you're in doubt about this program, keep paying this stuff. Get your $10,000 loan. Now you're not going to keep paying this because the loan is going to pay this money. Take the money that you would have paid and just put it aside. That $10,000 that you would have paid, put it aside into another account, basically. Use that loan money to pay these things for you, apply for forgiveness, and then when you get forgiven, then you can use the other money that you put aside. It's basically a way of saying, if for whatever reason your loan doesn't get forgiven, which the odds are like 99% plus of these loans are going to get forgiven, unless you really screwed up the program, which is kind of hard to do. But anyway, worst case scenario, then fine, you keep paying it. You set the money aside anyway. So like what I'm trying to say with this example here is you're better off taking the loan money and then just giving it back if you think you didn't qualify or you think you didn't end up following the rules to where you could get the loan forgiven, then just give it back. But otherwise, you should take it, use it, apply for forgiveness, and I'm going to say 99% of people who apply for forgiveness are getting forgiveness. Again, unless you took the money and you're like, hey, I took this $10,000 loan y'all gave and I put it in a Tesla stock. Yeah, you're not going to qualify for forgiveness then. Now, there is still technically a way you could put that money into Tesla stock. See, when you operate a business, the cool thing is, remember how we were saying you're paying yourself $2,000 a month in this example? The cool thing is, you take that $2,000 per month and you pay it to yourself, to you. So your business paid you the $2,000, whether that means you transferred it from your business account to your personal account, or you withdrew the money from your business or whatever. Some way the business paid you, your business wrote you a check, whatever. Then, yeah, once the money is yours, you can do whatever you want with it. At that point, you could go on a vacation to Hawaii. At that point, you could buy stocks with it. And sometimes this gets really confusing to folks who don't necessarily have business accounts or payroll. That is less important to worry about right now. At some point, if you do get this loan, you want to have a very clear paper trail that whatever money you are borrowing, you are literally using to A, continue paying yourself and your employees, if you have employees. You don't need to have employees. And B, you're paying for business expenses. As long as it touches those things first, that's what matters. The money's got to go there first. It's kind of the same as, think about it this way. Let's say you have an employee who works for $1,000 a month. You're going to write them a check. What they do with that money afterwards does not matter. They could literally take that $1,000 and burn it. It doesn't matter. But the point is the business paid that employee. So the big point is when you get the money, just make sure you're actually spending it on the proper things. If you are a sole proprietor, it doesn't hurt to just open up another account wherever you bank. Call it the business account. And then that way, when you get the loan money, it goes into your business account. You could transfer that loan money to your personal account. And then that way, it's really easy for you to be able to go and show, look, here, I got my $10,000. Here's the transfer where it shows I paid myself that money and I spent the other money on the expenses. Here's my utility bill or mortgage or whatever related to my business. Boom, done. That's the beauty of the PPP. They try to make it very, very simple. It's obviously much easier if you do have an S corporation, you pay yourself payroll, you've got the different bank accounts already. But if you don't, make another bank account. You don't have to have an LLC or S corp though. Okay, more questions here. So what if you have a full-time job and you work on the side? Can you still apply? The answer is yes. Just apply based on whatever income you have from your side hustle. What if you filed BK, like Chapter 13? Well, the CARES Act doesn't say that you can't get the PPP, but there have been lawsuits about this, so it's a little complicated. It's not clear. I would just apply to multiple different banks to see if you can apply. Some people apply to 4 different PPP lenders, and they get accepted at all of them, and then they just pick the highest loan amount. Some people apply to 4 different PPP lenders, and they only get accepted at 1. So generally, if you get denied, just go to a different bank. Go to a different lender, unless it's like, yeah, you probably shouldn't be qualifying anyway. I would just keep trying. Can you apply for PPP Round 1 if you're working again? So yeah, the answer is yes. You can apply for PPP Round 1 if you're working again. If you had a hardship at some point and you think that hardship might come back, or you have a hardship now, that's pretty much your only requirement to apply for the PPP. There's no requirement that your income had to go down for the first round. The biggest thing is you have to check a little box, and then you have to initial next to it once you sign, saying, because of the current environment that we're in and hardships facing the business, this loan is necessary to keep the business going. And remember, it's going to be a grant, right? And so a lot of people interpret this in many different ways. Some people say, well, I'm fine right now. I don't really need it. And then they say, but what if we go on another lockdown? What if there's another COVID pandemic? This is really where you have to, because I'm certainly not a lawyer and I can't give you this advice on how to answer that question as to whether or not that qualifies for you. But first of all, the Treasury Department came out pretty clearly and said, look, loans under $2 million, we're pretty much just saying that we believe you. If you think you had a hardship and you have a loan of under $2 million, we believe you. We believe that you have a hardship, or you think you might have a hardship. So ultimately, I think it comes down to sort of an ethical question of, do I want to apply or not? There are some people who look and say, well, look, the last PPP had $143 million left over, because I also get other questions. They're like, well, if I apply for the PPP and I'm only needed a little bit, am I not taking the money away from someone else? Not really, because again, the last loan round had $143 million available, left over. Nobody was taking it. So it's sitting in a Treasury bank account, not doing anything. And a lot of people look at that and they're like, look, it would be better for me to take the money, spend it, and stimulate the economy than the money just sit there not being used. So, how we declare our ethics, I think, is ultimately up to us, but those are some of the arguments that people make in both ways. But yeah, there's no requirement that your income couldn't have gone up for round 1. EIDL and PPP. So you got so somebody says they got the EIDL and the PPP 1. Can you get the second? So to get the second PPP, you actually have to show a 25% decline in income comparing a quarter in 2019 to a quarter in 2020. It has to be the same quarter. So for example, if you say, hey, in quarter 1 of 2019, I made $10,000, but in quarter 1, 2020, I made $6,000. Boom, yes, you'd qualify. A 25% loss is what they're looking for. If your income went up in 2020 quarter 1, but your income quarter 2 2020 compared to 2019 was lower, well, then you can apply, because you get to pick which quarter it is. Now, can you get the PPP if you operated at a loss first year? This gets complicated. Generally, you have to show that you have income in 2019 so you can actually show that you've been impacted, because if you were a money-losing business and you're still a money-losing business, it's kind of hard to say that you've been impacted. So this is going to cause some issues, and there's a good chance you might get denied at a lot of places. Generally, what I recommend people do is try to apply. When in doubt, apply in 2019 and say, hey, look, I've gone through more hardships in 2020, and that makes this PPP loan necessary. But beyond that, the easiest way to actually get the PPP is, if you are losing money or you lost money in 2019, is if you are an S corporation. This is specifically for the money-losing example. Because with an S corporation, it's really easy for you to show payroll, because you can go, look, my business paid payroll. Generally, if you have an S corp, you pay payroll. I paid payroll. Here's the payroll I paid in 2019. We're still paying payroll now. Give us the Paycheck Protection Program money. Then it doesn't matter so much if you lost money. But if you just sold on Etsy and you lost money in 2019 and you declared that you had a negative net profit on your Schedule C tax return, line 31, they say, it's going to be pretty tricky. Losing money is going to be a little tricky unless you're an S corp. Can you apply if you started your business in September of 2020? No. The PPP is only available if you started your business prior to February 15th, 2020. How much info do I need from my work? I do 1099 work. You literally need the Form 1099. The Form 1099 is by far the easiest way for you to apply for the PPP. Because if you got paid you received a 1099 from your real estate office, from Uber, from Lyft, from DoorDash, whatever in 2019, they will take that revenue that you generated, that income, and use that as your payroll, which is pretty cool. They don't even take expenses out. Like 1099, golly, if you have a 1099, which many of you do, please apply for the PPP. It is so freaking easy to do. And then again, if you don't have a second bank account, make a separate bank account. Let the loan money go into the new bank account and transfer that money every month to your regular bank account. And then that way it's, see, I distributed the money. Can you apply for the employee retention credit as well as the PPP? Yes, but you have to be careful. You cannot have, you can't use the same benefits in the same period of time. So generally you want to butter this out, so to speak, call it. So make sure when you're using your PPP money that's paying for payroll, you're paying for that specifically at a set period of time where you're not using the other benefits. That's the cleanest way to do it. The employee retention credit can be a little complicated. I personally would just try to separate when you're using that. So if you're getting the PPP for 8 weeks, use the PPP for 8 weeks, which is about 2 months. Use the employee retention credit for the other 4 weeks, the other part of that quarter. I would try to separate that, make it very, very clear that they're separate. Now, if you became a 1099 worker on April 13th, 2020, do you qualify? No, because again, February 15th is the cutoff. Will this hurt my debt to income ratio? So the PPP technically doesn't show up on your credit report, so if you're applying for a mortgage, maybe not. However, sometimes banks will ask for your bank accounts, like your bank statements, and they can ask you, hey, what are these deposits for? If they see a big deposit that's like PPP loan, yes, it will hurt your income until it is completely forgiven. It will hurt your debt to income, that is. Can I apply for the PPP if I made $0 in 2020 but made $40,000 in 2019? Well, honestly, it sounds to me like the PPP was basically designed for people like you. You made $40,000 in 2019, now you made 0 in 2020. It literally sounds like you absolutely should apply for the PPP. I mean, just as a quick example, if you made $40,000 divided by 12, that's $3,300 times 2.5. You could probably get a PPP of $8,300 in totally free money. Like you watching this video may have just made you $8,300. And you could probably apply for round 2 as well, which would double that. You would be able to get another $8,300. Unless you were in hospitality or accommodation, and then you could get 3.5 times, which would be $8,000 plus like $11,500. Yes, applied. So, you officially formed your LLC. Here's another question. Officially formed my LLC at the beginning of February, before February 15th. Do I qualify? So the answer here is if you made money. If you, nobody cares really when you formed your LLC. People care when your business actually operated. There are millions of LLCs that are filed and people never do anything. Like they file it and then they're like, they never do anything. They put the little binder on the shelf and they never do anything with it. If that happens, yeah, I mean, that's not really operating a business. You have to show that you were actually operating a business and making money. Can a DoorDash driver get the PPP? Yeah, use your 1099, really easy to do. Can you make a business now to qualify? No. Self-employed housekeeper with no employees. My 2020 income increased. Yes. So again, you have to attest that it's necessary for your business. If you feel comfortable doing that, you could apply for round 1. It's okay if your income went up. You would have to attest to a hardship, or which some people say a hardship could be a perceived hardship. But you won't be able to qualify for round 2 if your income went up. What about getting the PPP loan for a rental property? So, for rental properties, you have to be able to show net income before the pandemic hit. And as long as your rental property business had net income, I would say you could apply for the PPP. If you had net income in 2019 rather, you should be able to apply for the PPP. Even if that was, even if you became a landlord in December of 2019, in my opinion, you have a side hustle and a business and you should be able to apply for the PPP. Can you amend your 2019 tax return to show sole proprietor income and then apply for the PPP? Yeah, so this goes to a lot of cash businesses who didn't report taxes. The problem here is if you amend your 2019 tax return and you show all this sole proprietor income, you're going to have to pay taxes on that money, which you probably should be doing anyway. And then you can apply for the PPP. Can you get both PPP rounds at the same time? Yeah, technically you can. This gets a little complicated because, again, you don't want the overlap, so you have to butter this out. Are Uber drivers eligible? Yes. Do you have to pay back the PPP? Not if you follow the rules. For example, keep this in mind. What expenses qualify for the PPP? The current rule is 60% payroll, 40% rent, utilities, mortgage payments, necessary supplies, and contracts. It used to be 75-25, and I believe now they're giving you flexibility on whether you want to go with 75-25 or 60-40. If you started a business that didn't take off and you didn't make any money, well, then it won't work. For PPP Round 2, what's different? The biggest thing is you have to show a 25% per quarter loss or quarter-to-quarter loss compared 2020 to 2019, and you get to pick which quarter that is. But there are also some extended eligible expenses, and again, accommodations and restaurants get some extra benefits too. 3.5 times instead of 2.5 times for payroll. What if you deal with cash only? Again, if you're not paying taxes, it's gonna be hard. Will I qualify if I started trading stocks in July of 2020? No, because you didn't start working before February 15th. Then somebody asked if they're eligible if they did independent contracting as a W-2. So that doesn't work. Those terms are mutually exclusive. You can't be an independent contractor at the same time as receiving a W-2 unless they're two totally different jobs, in which case you could be. But if you are getting a W-2 and you're not getting any 1099, then you're an employee and you're not eligible. W-2 equals employee equals not eligible. 1099 or getting money from people directly and maybe not getting a 1099 means self-employed. Can a realtor apply? Yes, a realtor can apply. What if you had a substantial income, like over $100,000? Sure, you can apply. If you have an S corporation, you pay yourself payroll, you could use that. If you have just reported on your Schedule C and it's over $100,000, then you'll likely get limited to $100,000 of pay that they'll take. And then what they'll do is they'll do $100,000 for the year divided by 12, and then that's $8,300 or $8,333. Times 2.5, you could get a PPP loan of around $20,800. Yeah, you should apply. What if I own multiple businesses? Can I apply for each separately? Yes, you actually can. What if I have an S corp for one side gig and a sole prop for another? Yes, you can apply for each. I haven't applied for the first. Should I now? I believe so. I mean, if you so far everything that you've listened to this resonates with something you feel comfortable doing, attesting to the hardship and spending the money on paying yourself for required business expenses like rent and utilities? Yeah, of course. Do you think taking, this is a good question. Do you think taking aid that you don't need makes it so others won't actually get it? No, I don't think that because I think too many people are scared of this program and the money's just not getting used as much as it should be. That might be less true now because people have gotten more familiar with it, but you never know. I would go for it. In general. But look, if you don't need it, I shouldn't say I would go for it because remember, you are the one who's attesting to a hardship. So if you don't have a hardship, then you can't sign that box. And so then you probably shouldn't take it. But I wouldn't be worried about taking money from anybody else. That's what I'm trying to say. What if you own a small business, but you're just now registering as an LLC? Nobody cares when you registered as an LLC. It doesn't matter. Wells Fargo says, find your 2019 IRS tax form 1040 Schedule C, line 31 net profit. If the amount is over 100K, reduce it to 100K. If the amount is 0 or less, you're not eligible. Yeah, so Wells Fargo is telling us that basically if you made 0 money on your Schedule C or you have a negative income on your LLC or on your Schedule C, you're not eligible. Not all banks are going to agree with that. So I would continue to shop around if you had that loss on your 2019, especially if you could show some sort of continuity of business into 2020 and that you are paying yourself. Okay, let's see. The scared the debt won't be forgivable. So I gave that example earlier where if you're worried it's not going to be forgivable, then just assume you have to pay it back. And then if it gets forgiven, there you go. Now you could spend the other money you were saving up in the meantime. Ooh, here's a big one. Collected pandemic unemployment assistance. Can I apply? Yes. Yes, you can apply for the PPP and be on unemployment. Yes. The issue is, when you get your loan, you have to pause your unemployment, and for the next 8 to 24 weeks, whichever you choose, 8 or 24 weeks, you cannot take unemployment while paying yourself payroll. Because remember, if you're on unemployment, it means you're not getting paid. If you're taking the PPP and you're paying yourself, then you're not eligible for unemployment. So you take unemployment, now you get your loan, you pause unemployment, now you pay yourself from the PPP, pause, PPP comes to an end, boom, you go back on unemployment if you need to. Yes, you can do that. How to report funds already collected through the PUA. So unemployment funds are taxable, unlike PPP funds, which is why you should want to do the PPP, because it's kind of like tax-free unemployment, right? It's not really designed to be unemployment. You should be working, right? You should be working in your business and trying to get up. Like there was a question about a photographer who's like, look, I'm on unemployment. I don't have gigs right now. Well, should I take the PPP? Take the PPP and then go market your business for 8 weeks and then go back on unemployment if you didn't get busy. So regarding the unemployment though, there is this odd question of if you're trying to apply for the second round of the PPP where you have to show a loss, but you've been collecting unemployment, is that going to affect your ability to claim a decline in income? That's unknown. I don't know the answer to that. Technically, the way the CARES Act was written, they do not want unemployment to disqualify you from other federal programs. Whether or not that applies to the PPP, I don't know, but I would try. When in doubt, apply. So here's a question. I made $2,000 in 2020 and $5,000 in 2019 driving for DoorDash. How much can I get? Right, so if you made $5,000, they're going to divide that by 12 in 2019, and then they're going to multiply that by 2.5, which works out to about $1,041. The minimum loan amount is $1,000. So you probably get about $1,000 for round number one. So if you got $1,000 for round number one as a PPP, hey, that's $1,000 free bucks. Why not? If you made $2,000 in 2020, you had a decline in income, so you'd be able to apply again. So if you applied for both rounds, which some say you could do in the same application, you just apply and they offer you both rounds, maybe you can get another $1,000. So maybe you could even get $2,000 totally for free. Why not? For taking a few minutes to fill out a form, not a bad move. Can you take the PPP if you're the only employee? Yeah, nobody cares if you have employees or not. It does not matter. It will change the amount of Paycheck Protection Program money you can get, but it doesn't matter if you're the only employee. And if you're like, I don't have any employees and I don't even know that I'm my own employee. If you're self-employed, you're an employee of your own business. Any advantage of going to PayPal over another bank? No, I don't think, honestly, wherever you can get approved is where you should go. Just apply. Can I get approved without 2019 taxes? It's going to be tough. Does everyone get $10,000 across the board? No. So I think this is a reference to the EIDL grant. And if you type into YouTube, Meet Kevin EIDL $10,000, you'll learn a lot more about that. If you are a sole proprietor, the max you can get is $100,000 with no employees. Yes. Can content creators get the loan? Sure, if you had income, and if you had an income for your business and you filed that in 2019, of course. If I only started working in the latter half of 2019 in August and I didn't file, would I still apply? Well, I don't know why you wouldn't have filed. The only reason you wouldn't have filed your taxes is if you didn't make income. If you didn't make income, probably not. When will 10K advance be available? Again, that's EIDL. When you hear just the 10K advance, it's probably having to do with the EIDL. Type into YouTube, Meet Kevin EIDL $10,000. Didn't qualify the last time, and we're having a hardship getting contractors and pricing for rental properties now. Can we qualify now? Try with multiple different lenders. Landlords are a type of business. PPP loans, how are they audited, and will I have to claim it on my taxes? So you do not have to claim it under your taxes, and under $2 million, the Treasury Department is saying, with the exception of fraud, that they're basically taking your word for it. Requirements for PPP Forbearance. You just have to show that, hey, here's a statement showing I transferred the money to myself as pay, and I paid these utilities and these business expenses and these, mortgage payments or whatever as part of your eligible expenses. The bank will make it very clear to you what's available for you in terms of eligible expenses, and you can email or call them once you actually get approved for the loan. What I would do is apply, get approved, and then call them and ask more questions. Hey, I got approved. I want to run this by you. Easy way to do it. How do I know that I don't have to pay it back? I mean, we've kind of covered that quite a few times. I would say, if you follow the expense rules, if you're still worried about it, you follow the rules, you're probably not going to have to pay it back. But if you're in doubt, just assume you have to pay it back. Worst case scenario, you give back the money you got is the worst case scenario in that case, right? The worst thing you could do is take the money, not follow the rules, and not be prepared to pay it back. But if you follow the rules, it's probably going to get forgiven. Very likely going to get forgiven. All right, so then we have, let's see here. Somebody's saying, I got an alert that they're asking for a 2020 IRS Form 941, that's a payroll form, or a payroll statement covering 2/15/2020. So what they're asking you here is they want to see proof that your business actually paid you money covering February 15th, 2020. So show some draws from your account that were personal draws. Like here, I sent $1,000 to my personal bank account. That's an example. Or here's my payroll statement. If you have that, if you have the 941, great. Or what some people do is, well, Kevin, I only have one bank account. Well, then go through it and go, okay, well, here 10 times I spent $100 on personal items. That was my pay, and show that. So whatever you can do to try to justify, like, this was my pay. It's all in one account. That's what you should do. Am I eligible if I do Amazon FBA? If you've had income in 2019, the answer is yes. If you haven't done payroll in 2020, should you apply? As long as you've done payroll in 2019, yes. Can a permanent resident get the PPP? Yes, but not at all banks, in a weird way. I am a restaurant worker / bartender. Can I apply? Only if you actually get paid as an independent contractor, like a 1099 worker. If you get a 1099, yes. If you get a W-2, no. Payments deferred, or do you pay monthly? So payments are deferred on this loan for 6 months, and potentially as long as 10 months, because the SBA takes some time to actually reply to your forgiveness application, and that is considered a deferred period too. Did DoorDash a couple of times since the pandemic started. Can I apply? If you didn't do it before February 15th, the answer is probably no. Started a side hustle in 2019. If you started a side hustle in 2019, you should be eligible as long as you show that you had income on your 2019 tax return. Day trading a side hustle. Sure, again, if you showed income in 2019. Should you apply if you didn't show income on a rental for 2019 on your tax return? So if you didn't show income on a rental for 2019, and it's a rental property, it's really difficult to say that you're probably going to get it. I don't think so. I don't know if it's worth applying. You could try it. When in doubt, apply. But it's really tough when you have a money-losing business in 2019 and you don't have a clear payroll structure like through an S corp to get the PPP. So if you're losing money in 2019, you better hope you got an S corp set up. And if you don't, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. You could try, but you really have to show how you've been paying yourself. If you never, took yourself off unemployment, your PPP might not be forgiven. This is true. Remember, you have to take yourself off unemployment when you take your PPP money during that period of time. I took PPP round 1. Should I apply again? Yes, if your income has gone down 25%. No self-employment income in 2019 because you were W-2 in 2019, but then you did Uber full-time in 2020. Should I apply? Probably not, because you have to show a loss of income from your Uber business from 2020 to 2019, and you can't do that because your income in 2019 was 0. I only worked for cash. Does that count? If you paid taxes, yes, but if you didn't, probably not. If you don't report it on your taxes, remember, you really can't get the PPP. How much do I apply for? So when you fill out the forms, you actually go through calculators, and they give you answers on exactly how to do that. PPP as a landlord. Yes, again, as long as you showed income. Are 2019 taxes a must? Yes, 2019 taxes are generally a must. Minimum PPP loan, usually $1,000. Can you take 100% as a salary? So this is up in the air. Some people say that you can, and they submit the forgiveness application, the banks are fine with it. Others say the banks want to see at least 75% payroll and at least 25% towards other business expenses. It's not clear though. You could try to apply for 100K or apply for 100% and then see what they say. If they ask for more documentation, give them more documentation. When you apply for forgiveness, how long until you hear back? It's up to 90 days. Some lenders aren't taking first-time applications. Then go to a different one. Okay, what else here? What if I only have a 1099? Well, that's actually all you need. Will it cover 24 or 8 weeks? You have a choice as to whether it covers 8 weeks or 24. Some people do 24 because it lets them cover more rent payments and utility payments. All right, so if you are a sole proprietor, generally you want to keep in mind you're generally maxed at 100K. Sole proprietor means you don't have a business entity, not an LLC, corporation, S corp, whatever. It's probably most of us, like you're getting a 1099. If you've reported this self-employment income on your Schedule C, you should apply for the PPP. Best case scenario here is you've got your 1099 though. The cool thing, it's like really beautiful. The cool thing about the PPP with 1099s is this. So watch this. Ordinarily, if you are self-employed and you report it on your Schedule C, you will say, all right, I had in 2019, I had $100,000 of income But on the Schedule C, it subtracts your expenses. So let's say you had $50K in expenses. That means you had $50,000 in net income. And then they're going to say, cool, 50,000 divided by 12. That's how they're probably going to calculate your PPP. And then times 2.5. So divided by 12 is 4,166 times 2.5 is 10,416. So you'd be able to get about $10,416 in this scenario. But if you got a 1099 and you made 100K on that 1099, well, they're going to take $100,000 divided by 12 times 2.5, which would mean you would get about a PPP loan of about $20,833. See, they're not actually considering your expenses when you use the 1099. So the 1099 is really powerful. Okay, so if you have an S corporation or C corporation, remember, generally you pay yourself a salary. If you are an LLC, some people pay themselves salaries in an LLC, and that's easy. But if you don't pay yourself an LLC salary and you just take distributions, you might have to find a banker that's okay with that. Some banks are okay with that. Now, okay, where do you apply? So you can go to crossriversba.com to apply. You could go to a small community bank or a local bank to apply, but usually you have to have a business account there. So sometimes it's easier to use like the online, the PayPal, the Blue Vine, the Cross River SBA. But let's just do this together here really quick. Let's just go on over to Blue Vine, and let me just expose you a little bit to what this looks like, because I really implore you to do this. So what you'll see when you go to bluevine.com, and I'm not sponsored by them. I'm just picking one randomly here. Like another one you could do, you could even type this in, go to metkevin.com/veem, V-E-E-M, Victor Echo Echo Mike, and see it redirects you to Cross River SBA. Apply now. Just do it. Apply at both of them. So just hit get started. Like literally do it. Okay, what do you want here? Select a product to continue, business checking or paycheck protection. Well, we're doing PPP, so that's what we're gonna click on. All right, cool. Have you previously received the SBA or the PPP loan? Let's just click no. First name, last name. All right, let's put that in. Preferred phone number. Let's just make up a number here. Okay, and then let's put an email here. I don't know, I'm just gonna make up an email here. treasurywalterkevin@gmail.com. And let's do PPP. I don't know. Let's just make up a password here. I don't know. All right, whatever. It doesn't matter. Okay, I agree. Get started. So let's see here. Well, let's get this darn thing to load, and let's get our application on the way. Good. Business name. All right. Meet Kevin, the YouTuber. Honestly, your business name doesn't matter so much. See, because there's business name and trade name. So, for example, in my case, because I have a corporation, my business name is actually the Ppp organization, and my trade name is Meet Kevin. It's my trademarked name is Meet Kevin. But honestly, this could just be like something like this. My business name could be Kevin Ppp. It could be my normal name. And then over here, it could be KP, darn autofill here, KP Electrical, right? Because that's my work that I do or whatever. So then put your address in, 123 Main Street. There we go. We'll just pick that address here. Work phone number. Let's put my tax ID or EIN in. So this is your social or your EIN for your corporation. Okay, I think 9 digits. 479. Okay, perfect. Annual revenue. Well, let's just say we made $100,000. 1, 2, 3. Customers. Who are my customers? I don't know. Both private, business, and okay, perfect. Now, what you are here is important. So sole proprietor means you're going to use your Schedule C. Partnership means you're going to use some partnership documents, and maybe you have a salary with that. C Corp and S Corp, you generally have a payroll, some sort of salary or payroll that you're getting. Independent contractor means you're getting a 1099. Self-employed is probably going to be just like Schedule C. It's probably similar. But let's just see what happens. Let's click on self-employed individual here. Existing financing, none. All right, next. Let's see what's next. Okay, have you received a shuttered venue grant? No. Are you the president? Really? Are you the president of the United States? No. Is your business a publicly traded company? No. Is your business in bankruptcy? No. See, this could disqualify you. That's why the bankruptcy issue is a problem. Has your business permanently closed? Nope. It might be closed now, but it's temporary. Is your business a farm or ranch? Nope. Is your business a designation marketing org? Nope. Will you use your PP funds for lobbying? No. Is your business a news organization with multiple locations? No. Is your business a tax-exempt nonprofit? No. Is your business a government-owned hospital? No. Does your business receive revenue from illegal gambling? No. Are you a household employer? Nope. Individual employee nannies, employing nannies. Oh, that's interesting. I wonder what would happen if we hit yes there. Is your business a hedge fund? Nope. Does your business engage in illegal activity? Nope. Next. All right. Provide financial data. Oh, look at this. Okay. So literally here, we would, wow, this is actually, they make this actually really easy. Let me really quickly just make a, because we're not going to actually submit this, right? Let me just get a generic blank PDF here because they'll probably want me to upload something. Bank statement. Okay. And so I would have this prepared, like get your bank statement ready and have that prepared. It's not a bad idea to have these things ready to go. So, okay, let's pop back on over here. So bank name, well, okay, I bank with Chase. Go to your checks. Like if you have a check, you can get your routing number and account number to get your information off this. If you do not have this, what you could do is you can go to your bank statement and actually get this information off your bank statement. Oftentimes you'll get the routing or the account number off your bank statement, and you can call your bank and ask them for the routing number or Google it. It's a pretty generic number. This is the unique number. This one matters. Okay, attach a statement. So I just quickly made a PDF here that has bank statement. There's nothing on it. But let's continue. Must be 9 digits. Okay, well, I must have missed a digit or I went too far. There we go. Provide financial data. Continue. Haha, it's working. Okay, good. So now I have to put in an address here. So let's just put in a P.O. box. They don't need to know this is a P.O. box for right now. Phone number, same thing we did before. Birthday. Oh yeah, my birthday's coming up. Social. Let's just put in something generic here. There we go. Role or title. Okay. Sure. Boss. 100 business owned by, yep, me. Sounds good. By clicking next, I certify I have the ability to control, direct, and manage the business. Yep, sounds good to me. Okay, we process your information. Might take a minute. Okay, we need one more document. Update your driver's license front and back. And I don't know, let's just upload the... Oh, they don't let me upload the same blank statement I had. So let me just change the title a little bit. They gonna let me do that? Oh, does it have to be a picture? Oh, see, this has to be a picture. Okay, so we'll do a couple little quick screenshots here. Yep, it's gotta be a JPEG, no problem. Or a PNG, fine. The image you provided is too small. Oh, how do they know? Let's try a couple larger ones. Obviously, this should actually be your driver's license. Somehow they've got an algorithm that determines. Your file will be reviewed manually. Yes, no wonder. Next. All right, so add Paycheck Protection Program details. Is your business seasonal? No. Business start date. January 1, let's say 2019. Aside from payroll, what else will the loan be used for? Sure, we'll do some lease or mortgage interest, utilities, and that sounds good to me. 60% of the loan must be used for payroll. Okay, so now they're saying 60%. It used to be 75%. It might be, maybe it can be more than that. But yeah, I mean, they want the bulk of it to be payroll, so that's fine. Industry classification. Oh, real estate. We'll go with that. Okay, so average monthly payroll. Learn more about how to calculate this. Oh, how cool. Look at this. They've got a whole page here on how to calculate this. But what we're going to do is, see, look at this. Check this out. They actually tell us here. Payroll calculations. Only on US-based employees. For the purposes of calculating average monthly payroll, most applicants will use average monthly payroll for 2019, excluding costs over $100K per employee. For seasonal businesses, the applicant may elect instead to use the average monthly payroll for any 12-week period between Feb 15 and Feb 15, 2020. So 19 and 20. Okay, got it. For new businesses, average monthly payroll may be calculated using the time period from January 1, 2020, oh, look at that, to Feb 29, 2020 at this website. That's pretty cool. So give you a little bit more time to give you that average over those 8 weeks there. If you're not an employer, your average monthly payroll is based on line 31, net profit on Schedule C, whether or not you filed a Schedule C. So at this website, if we're negative, we're probably not going to be able to apply at all. It's just not going to work. If this amount is over 100K, reduce it. Well, so let's say I have, my income says, so, and if you had a 1099, they say you could just put in the top line number here, but because we chose self-employed instead of independent contractor, let's say our average monthly payroll is $4,000 and we're the only employee. What time period did you use for this? 2019. I confirm. And see, it wants it to match line 31 from Schedule C. And here it is and there was a question about this, they do actually allow you to use a draft, which is incredible that they actually allow you to use a draft. I assume at some point, though, they'll make you file that. I certify that the place of business is in the United States. Did you get the EIDL? No. Outstanding EIDL balance. So if you got the loan, they'll calculate this out for you. Let's see, if yes, is the applicant or any applicant suspended? No. Applicant, directed by the SBA? No. Owning 20%? No, not in jail. 5 years felony fraud? No. Schedule C, owner of another business? No. Franchise? No. Demographic information? Sure. We can put this in, why not? We'll go ahead and put some info in here, non-veteran, okay. I certify, okay, so I'm not gonna submit this because this is obviously a totally fake application here, right? So we're not going to actually submit this, but yeah, what would happen now after we submit is they would probably come back and say, hey, great, because they didn't ask us in this application process. They'd come back and say, hey, send us your Schedule C in this case. So there we go, and I would do exactly that at multiple different lenders to see what I get and what they respond with. And the big bottom line, folks, when in doubt, apply. Hopefully you found this helpful. If you did, consider sharing it. And folks, we'll see you in the next video.